So, hey everybody, it's great to have you all here. I see such a fantastic full room. We've got a real doozy of a session for you now. So, campaign-based learning. So you'll be finding out today exactly what it is. You'll be learning some principles that you can use to put it into practice. You'll be seeing some absolutely brilliant examples of it in practice, and you'll be getting to try some of this stuff yourself. So we've got a kind of two-part activity for you today, and we'll be kind of getting you to spend a bit of time working on that. After we've given you some input, we'll give you a little bit more input, and then get you to work on it again and share back. So we hope it's going to be a really kind of well-rounded session for you. So we've got three wonderful speakers here today. So we've got on the far left, Peter Young from The Entertainer, so the wonderful toy shop that I get stuck in for hours on end with my children. We've got Morvern Scott from Channel 4, who's here to talk about a wonderful project that I've had the great privilege to see before, so I think you're going to enjoy that. And Florence Dambricourt from Richemont is our first speaker joining us today. So, Florence, can I hand over to you then, please?
Oops. We had to put some picture to make sure you could recognize who we were. No, my job is quite interesting, and it's not because it's Valentine's Day that it is my job, but I have to get people to actually fall in love with the subject of security and health and safety. Seriously, it is my task. And for that, you're going to see that campaign-based learning is actually an extremely powerful tool, because we play with every aspect of the human brain, and we play also with the aspect of us social beings. But now, before we do that, we're going to have a small game. And I call that the fake news game. You ready? So I need first everyone to put on the table whatever you're holding at the moment and to stand up. And then I'm actually going to prompt on the screen 3 statements. And if you think it's a real news, you do nothing. But if you think it's a fake news, I want you to go very loud, shouting, "Fake news!" You ready? They're going to go quite quickly, because you are smart people. 3, 2, 1. Statement number 1. Campaign-based learning uses only one channel of communication. Fake news! Excellent. Statement number 2. Campaign-based learning are only about having fun. Fake news! That's good. Statement number 3. Here. Campaign-based learning are just about marketing. Fake news! No, I'm sorry. Louder. Fake news! But you've got it. You can all sit down now. You got it. Campaign-based learning is much more than what we think. If I am to summarize what it is, it's putting together a set of learning experiences over a period of time using multiple channels of communication. And then when you bundle all that together neatly, you have something that really creates engagement. And the engagement you create is usually what is going to facilitate the change of behavior or the acquisition of knowledge. Now, campaign is also a communication tool, in the sense that when you run a campaign-based learning approach, when you do that, you're actually using communication as a tool. And communication is a very strategic tool. Now, let's look at a bit of an example of one campaign. And it's linked to a program of communication. So most of us, when we do actually campaign-based learning, we manage program of communication. And the one I manage for the group Richemont is called Be Aware, Be Secure, and it's about security and safety. And it's about getting people to fall in love with the subject. So we decided to have a first campaign, and it's called Against the Clock, and it was released last April. And first thing we ask ourselves is actually, what do we really want to create with that campaign? So I would call that the objective. What are the true objectives of the activity we're going to launch? And here, the objective was about getting people curious. So we had to find a way to implement curiosity for the campaign. So what we did, we hired a crime story writer, and we gave that crime story writer a very clear brief. We need you to write a short story in 5 episodes, 5, where each episode has to build up suspense on the previous one. Each episode has to clearly address one specific item we want to focus on. Of course, each episode has to take place in an environment that can really engage with people. So it has to be applied to their day-to-day environment. It's quite a nice little package. And that gave us a very cool short stories. Then the question was how to bring that to users. So we use different mechanisms. We publish it onto an intranet pages as a base, and then we use different mechanisms to invite users to go and read the story. So it's starting with that poster that was like everywhere in different offices, with no more information that the story starts on April 5th. And we know people really like stories. So we create a gap of knowledge, and we know they're going to kind of want to resolve it. And then the first week, we had this poster coming up. Now, the very interesting thing was to actually get people putting that poster that usually do not put posters. So I had to really get a lot of my network willing to do something they never do, because this did create a real buzz. People were questioning why on earth someone from finance is putting a poster up. And they had no answer. To get the answer, they had to go and read the information. So you could see we facilitate that by using also QR code or different mechanisms. Now, we could have used exactly the same approach on every single week. But if we were to have done that, we would have taken away the novelty aspect. And therefore, we would have created less curiosity. So this meant every week we had to find another way to invite people to go and read the story. So on episode 2, the chapter 2, we had some mobile phone-shaped flyers. Why? Because the story was talking about a lost mobile phone, so it created nice connections. Then on the third one, we had something more linked to health and safety, and we had an imitation of a coffee stain. And there you can see how people get really creative themselves in how they use that. Because in some offices, it seems like when they pour their coffee, it's straight onto a cupboard. I find that really interesting. Then the fourth week, we have another type of posters. And that is what we call a lenticular poster. So depending on the direction you look at it, you're going to see something completely different. The mechanism why we choose specifically this one, because we wanted to really get something that reflects what was happening in the story. And in the story, we were in a situation that we had a fraud based on an imitation. You probably hear about all the president scam of this type of fraud. And the last one was about social network, when you share too much. So here we went completely overboard in the sense that we plaster nearly everywhere we could this poster. Because this is what's happening when you do social media. You post one thing a post, but actually it can go everywhere. And that gave us our campaign, about 5 weeks of times. Now, the learning there happened in several places. The learning happened directly in the campaign itself. Then the learning happened through the conversation, and that's probably where people were having the most places for learning. And then we gave them the capability to download golden pages to be able to get some really cool tips. Now, there is a reason why we created all these different elements, and that's going to come back to the strategy behind communication, and it's going to come back to how you actually build a campaign. So let's do a bit of communication lingo here. In communication, we're going to talk about program, we're going to talk about campaign, and we're going to talk about product. A program is something that's going to last over a long period of time, usually 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years if it works very well. And it's going to be a collection of a lot of learning package that is going to be rolled over time with different objectives. My program is Be Aware, Be Secure. We have very precise objectives. For example, one of them is we want people to realize they have the autonomy to learn and to share information. Because since the subject of security is very dynamic, I need people to learn on a regular basis. Now, within a program, usually you have campaigns, but campaigns are going to be shorter in times. And they're going to have usually much more precise objective. So in this specific case, the campaign I show you, we had one key objective. Any idea what it could have been based on the mechanism of the campaign? So the objective was really specific. It was to get people curious about security and safety. It was about getting them to be curious about it and realize that when they're curious about it, they can learn about the subject in a fun and interesting way. And the last, we have product. Product is usually something you do completely independent. Now, this is actually extremely important because this is helping you to identify how you're going to measure the success of what you're doing. And in communication, we always talk about 3 types of measure. We talk about measuring on output, outcome, and impact. Output is the immediate reaction to a communication. How many people actually go and read your text? How many people download an app you've been advertising? The outcome is when people start to react and apply, for example, the behavior you're targeting. So if you create, like the campaign we had when we offer people to go and have extra session to learn about the subject, the number of people coming there, this is an outcome. When I get people to download a PDF with fact sheet or cool tips, this is an outcome. It's no longer an output. And then the last one is the impact. And the impact is much longer because the impact is what you're going to measure over time, usually 3 or 4, 5 years sometimes, maybe just 2 years. But it's actually the intention of the change of behavior you're really trying to create. This is quite important because you're going to need that when you sell whatever you want to sell to whoever is going to sponsor your project, because they need to understand this. And it's also important because you're going to need to know if you're going to measuring outputs, outcome, or impact to build the right communications. So let's play with building a campaign. And I'm going to call that the campaign ninja in actions. First, you think about objective. Then you think about what you're going to measure, how you're going to measure it. And then you pass all of that through a grid of best practices. And the best practices is you want to be strategic. You want to reduce complexity. You want to make sure you understand your audience and it's tailored to your audience. You want to create engagement. And then you want to deliver long term. At the beginning, you're going to take those 3 steps one by one. But as soon as you start working on your campaign, they're going to be all in your mind at the same time. And they're going to be very complementary to each other. Now, are you ready to put that into practice? Come on. What did I hear? Sure. Yes, excellent. So on your table, you have actually a fact sheet like that with the 3 steps approach. And you also have a very cool line for a hashtag. Thinking about the hashtag you're going to use for the first campaign you're going to run, that is actually going to be really cool in helping you to think promotion or what you want to achieve. So for example, if you want your first campaign to be about people recycling plastic bottle, you could have a hashtag with recycle plastic or something different. It's just an example. So now we're going to give you 10 minutes to think about, in practice, how you could apply that. I'm sure at the back of your mind you already have campaign you want to run or idea you like to explore using a campaign-based approach. So start think first, what could be your hashtag? And at the same time, what you truly want to achieve with that campaign. If it's a behavior change, if it's implementing a new practice, if it's people to have one specific knowledge, then you think measure, and then we pass that through the grid of best practices. Any question before we start? Good? Excellent. Time to go to your paper.
Brilliant work going on, and it was also lovely to see that you're using this on some real sort of practical projects, things that you actually want to achieve. So we will be coming back to this for another 10 minutes, but first we're going to hear from Morvern from Channel 4 and see some of this stuff really put into practice in a brilliant way, basically.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all got some ideas, and hopefully after my presentation that will give you a few more kind of tips. So I'm Morvern, who in Channel 4 past 11 years in their Facilities and Workspace department. And what we did is we put together a health and safety training module, so a similar theme to Florence, security and safety. And we delivered this as part of a kind of mini campaign in itself, but we also tried to tie it in with a wider campaign for compliance training across Channel 4. So over the next few minutes, I'll basically just take you through the challenge of basically why we needed to create something new and different, the objectives of what we wanted to achieve as a result of people doing this module, how we created it, how we delivered it, and then ultimately how we measured the success of it. So the challenge, setting the scene. So this is us, day one of a new job. Everyone's really excited, they're a bit nervous, they're full of anticipation. And at Channel 4, they're coming into an iconic building, it's an exciting company. And the main HR induction takes everybody through, they get shown TV reels of up-and-coming programs and films, they get messages from on-screen talent, and then they go and get their photo taken for their staff ID card. And then we come along, facilities and health and safety, and tell them all the legal bits and things that they need to know. So I'd like to say we don't quite show it like this, but you get the idea of the challenge that we're facing, and everyone's eyes glaze over, and it's the last thing they really want to think about on day one. But there's things that we need to tell people, like where the fire exits are, where to assemble, who to call in emergencies. And we take them on a tour of the building, and we show these things out again, but I'm quite sure once they've left that room and they've gone to the desks, if you ask them 15 minutes later, what's the emergency number, they probably couldn't tell you. So things we've tried before, talks from the team, presentations, we've done the building tours, we give them a goodie bag, follow-up emails. We've even tried kind of meet the team session, so a month or 2 months later, come back, we entice them with pizza and cookies, and you quite literally get about 1 or 2 people turning up because, again, health and safety really isn't on the agenda unless, heaven forbid, something's actually happened. So not that these things kind of didn't work, but we couldn't measure how successful they actually were. And apart from knowing that they had kind of turned up or we had sent them an email, we couldn't tell. So we wanted to create something new, a new health and safety module. And Channel 4 is not a natural environment for your kind of standard compliance training. Our ethos is very much take creative risks, push the boundaries, and that puts an added challenge on us to create something new when something like that doesn't actually quite come naturally. And the initial plan really was to produce kind of bog standard 20-minute e-learning module covering pretty conventional health and safety topics. But we were like, how do we make this interesting? Do we introduce animation? Do we introduce gamification? And how do we tie this into a kind of wider compliance training that we already had? So we had various modules had been created already for Code of Conduct, Expenses Policy, Bribery Act, GDPR, and these all followed a similar kind of line of questioning. Is it okay? And staff basically presented with a scenario, and they had to ask themselves, is it okay for X, Y, and Z? So we thought, okay, maybe there's something in that we can tie into ours. So we engaged with an external company called Action, and these were the guys who'd created the other modules for us. And we basically went through and discussed the objectives of our module. And this isn't rocket science, this is one, we wanted something different. It was to promote behavioural changes, demonstrate compliance for us, and also just to raise day-to-day awareness of Channel 4, of health and safety. So they went away and came back really with quite an unusual idea, and this was a music video. So some of the team loved the idea, some weren't quite so sure, and the main concern being, okay, well, health and safety is actually quite a kind of serious topic. There's legal messages that we need to get across, and we thought, okay, if you do it as a song, it might come across as a bit naff, or you lose the message in that. So it took a bit of time convincing people, but we got the green light in the end. So what we didn't want to do is just regurgitate health and safety policies and procedures, and this is where Acting really kind of helped us drill down in terms of what is it we want to achieve as a result of doing this. Keeping it simple, taking a 4-page health and safety policy or procedure and putting it into 2 or 3 kind of bullet points. And ultimately, we wanted engagement with the rest of the business. And basically, from this came a concept and character called Barry. And Barry was born, and it was now his job to bring health and safety to life at Channel 4. So to increase engagement, we decided to take it a bit outside of our London headquarters. We went to a regional office in Manchester. It's a smaller office. It's only about 20, 30 people. And we thought, okay, well, brilliant. Let's get them engaged. Let's get them dressing up in the silly outfits. And then when it comes back to to London and everyone doing it, they've got familiar faces in there as well. So I've got 2 short clips I'd like to show you of the video.
Hey there, I'm Barry. I've been accused of caring way too much, spending all my time thinking about health and safety. But I know that bad things can happen, even to good people. That's why I want to wrap you up in fur-lined velvet and protect you. But I have to fight the feeling because I know I can always be there. So let me teach you how to make the magic happen. Right on. We can love each other all night. When we take care about our health, we can keep each other safe, all right. Don't leave my policy on the shelf. Safety come first, yeah, that's for sure. It's a responsibility, no harm to those we love at 4. That's health and safety. Darling, if life goes wrong, an accident or emergency, please pick up the phone, don't wait too long, and dial 333 and 3. I'm your man if you need first aid. If there's an incident, big or small, a hazard, a threat, report it, I'm begging you. I just want to hear you call, 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 call. Open your eyes and play your part.
So just,
Now,
there's more.
I'm talking to all you managers out there. Being a leader can be tough, can it? I've learned that life easier when you know what is and what isn't your responsibility. So, what is my number 1 recommendation? Proper risk assessment for you and your team. Hey, you're welcome. Right on. You need to know, 'cause it's the law.
That's Barry. So how did we deliver the campaign? So we've now got our video. We placed this into an online module, which actually starts off really quite kind of corporate and mundane, a bit like you saw the slide, the kind of T's and C's of legalities of health and safety. We launch into the video, and then we take people through this kind of line of questioning. What would Barry do in certain situations? So we used digital screen messaging as well. They went around the building and via the internet, and we had the kind of usual email campaign kind of before, during, and after. We made sure we had obviously buy-in from the execs and senior management, and they really took it on board, and we gave them a sneaky preview before it launched. So then since launch, we've basically taken a few stills from the video, which means we can use these to carry on the message. So, emergency numbers, what to do if people are a bit tardy leaving the building after building evacuation. So the results. For us, we've got the module now as mandatory for all new people joining the company, so they have to do that as part of their probation. And really, the uptake is a key thing for us. So within the first 3 hours of launch, we had 10% of staff going through it, and we're now up at 90%, which I think for us is pretty much a good achievement. And ultimately, I think we achieved our aim of increasing awareness of health and safety at Channel 4. And these are more of the kind of behavioural things that kind of happened as a result of it. We're getting more calls to the help desk, reporting issues from staff, the reduction in accidents. And what's a key one for us is the call from people in departments who didn't engage with us before. So typically the creative types, they're going out onto doing a shoot or booking an event, and we wouldn't hear from them until afterwards. So absolutely, they were then kind of calling us beforehand and engaging with us, which was really positive. So a couple of points just to take away. For us, building a campaign and learning, it has a long-lasting effect for us. It wasn't just a kind of one-off kind of gimmick or kind of box ticking exercise. And really, we've used the concept, we've got the imagery, we've got this character that we can now really kind of build upon in terms of the culture at Channel 4. And just some general feedback from staff. It really did create a bit of a buzz. And if you hear that tune again, it goes on for about 5 minutes and it does start to get stuck in your head. And just tying this back, what you guys are working on now, it ties into the framework that Florence has been working on. Obviously, we didn't have the framework before, but it's good that it all kind of fitted in. We approached it strategically, absolutely went to reduce the complexity, drill down into the key actions, understood the audience, tailored the comms, and for us, the engagement over compliance was a huge tick in the box. And we've got an ongoing long-term campaign that we can really work on. That's us. Thank you.
So thanks very much, Morvern. That's absolutely awesome. Owen, I would have loved to have been in that pitch meeting. It was just absolutely superb. So I hope that's got your kind of creative ideas flowing there, and you've kind of seen how Channel 4 have done that and how that kind of fits within Florence's framework. So what we'd like you to do now is spend another 10 minutes just on this. I think a whole load of you, can I just borrow that just for a second? I think many of you have realised this, but for those that it's not so clear, at the bottom we've got the six steps of best practice here. These are the things that you think about for this final step that you've got here. So if you've not got as far as doing the final step, then please take some time to do that now. Also, if you already have done that, then please feel free to revisit step 1 and step 2 and the inspiration that you've just had from Channel 4. So we're going to take 10 minutes to, less than 10 minutes to do that, because we want to hear back from you some of your campaign ideas and hashtags. Okay, so we'll give you, I think, probably about 6-7 minutes for that, for working some more on your campaign. So what we'd like to do now is just hear back from you on some of the ideas you've come up with. Particularly, I know there's a few groups who are working on actual real projects, so real things that they need to do. So it's a good sign if I can't quiet you down. Who would like to share some of their thinking, or something that's kind of a light bulb idea for them, or even better if you're one of those tables that's working on a real project of your own that you need to actually deploy. And I've promised there's one person in the room which I'm not going to pick on. Well, I tell you, I was just talking to this table here, so Richemont. Go on.
I knew you were going to do that. So we decided to work on Workday, which is a project that's happening in one of the companies here. So our hashtag is #WorkMyDay. How much detail do you want me to go into? Just a quick overview. Okay. So we decided to focus in on a specific target group, which would be our frontline employees as recipients of our campaign. Some of the ideas we had were doing some storytelling around the benefits of the system, so specifically focusing on any time, any device, it's mobile. We thought about some gamification features, so perhaps getting people to make more use of the system, so perhaps if they can complete a couple of challenges, which will then unlock the next stage for them and walk them through more advanced features of the system. And we quite like the idea that Richemont used around teasers. So without actually naming the system we would sort of drop clues around, have you heard about me? This is what I can do. These are my benefits, without actually referencing the system. And then sort of at the end of the campaign, you'd reveal what you were talking about. And all of that was with the intention of improving adoption and engagement and how people feel about the system, and just creating some excitement and interest.
If only people would do more things like that when they're deploying IT systems, they might be a little bit more successful. So absolutely brilliant. Just in the interests of time, I think we shall probably have to move on, really, but there will be time for kind of questions and observations and things like that at the end. So Peter, if I can ask you to come up and share the work that you've been doing at the Entertainer, please.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure you love Barry as much as I do, and I'm thinking, how do I follow that? So I'm going to do my best. We don't have Barry, but we do have Jack. So I'm the Learning and Development Manager at the Entertainer. Tell you a little bit about who we are. So we sell toys for children. I'd just like to clear that up from the start. We have about 1,600 staff across 165 sites. I've put plus because we're opening stores all the time, and it's only really the property team that know the true number of stores we've got. So we have a growing international and UK estate. We opened 16 stores in the UK last year. We're planning on opening another 15 in the UK this year. And we're also opening in lots of different locations with franchise partners all over the globe. And we've been doing an employee engagement survey with best companies for the last 5 years, and for every year, personal growth has been our most highly correlated factor to engagement across the business. So we know that the teams at the Entertainer really want to invest in their own learning and development. So our campaign brief was to make learning more accessible and measurable to all our team members, so that's from sales assistants right the way through to the board. And we wanted to inspire them to learn and be curious about their careers. And as Rob just alluded to, because we were going to launch essentially an IT system, an LMS, we knew we were going to be met with a little bit of cynicism. So as soon as we announced this is what we were going to do, we knew that some of especially the retail teams, would be saying it's always launched at the wrong time of year for us. So anything that's after September, Christmas in shops, you just don't want to launch anything new. Yet we seem to do it a lot. They always say that IT initiatives never really work properly, and there's probably some fair criticism there. They're never involved. It's something that's done to them, not for them or with them. And rarely is the question, what's in it for me, answered right up front. So we knew that we had to do something different. We didn't have Florence's 6 steps, but I'm delighted to say that at some point we touched on them, and as I run through the campaign, I'll let you know. So that we knew that there was going to be some bidding in issues, but we knew the key thing for us was going to be about engagements. It was going to be getting them through the door and getting them excited about the platform and also its possibilities. So our campaign. We needed to get people excited. We needed to reduce the complexity of a new IT system and not refer to it as an IT system. Engagement was far more important than compliance to us. We would worry about that later on down the road. And it absolutely needed to learn for the long term. So while it needed to be exciting, engaging and fun, I've still got to prove a return on investment to those at the top. So there were 5 of us in our L&D team at the Entertainer, and we thought we'd have a brainstorming day, which naturally included post-it notes, scented pens, sweets. And we decided that the name of our system was going to be just as important as the system itself. So what did this look like? We're called the Entertainer, so we're very, very proud of ourselves in calling it the Entertrainer. Posters were sent out to all the stores, and all they knew was that the Entertrainer was landing on the 22nd of August. They didn't know what it was or how it was going to work. We thought a teaser campaign was really a great way to get them engaged. And we were also really clear that we wanted the end users to be the face of the campaign. If it was something for them and something that wasn't going to be done to them, we wanted to get them involved from the start. And also, as it was essentially an IT system, we thought using technology would be really important. And the vast majority of our users are under 25 and probably far more used to using technology than we are. So we set up a photo app, and provided everybody with the login. We did consider Twitter, but not everybody uses it, but most people have a smartphone. So we gave them access to a free app, and our hashtag was #EnterTrainMe. Apologies if Robbie Williams is now going to start rolling around in your brain. So our teaser campaign, when we launched the posters with the hashtag #EnterTrainMe, their only mandate was to share with the rest of the business how they were getting excited about the Entertrainer using the hashtag. So we had a great response from the stores, and we were just as delighted to see how excited they were, and it helped the momentum for us to keep going, because while we were bogged down in the complexities of an IT system, we got to see the fun and the excitement that these guys were having. And then as the countdown continued, the office and the teams and the guys in the field just got more and more creative. And it's the most I've ever seen our office engaged with anything ever that didn't involve a bribe. We also knew it was really important to get the field team. They have their own hashtag forgotten in the field. Lots of things happen in the business and they often feel left out. So the guy in the glasses is one of our regional managers. And Kerry on the right-hand side is one of our area managers. We knew it was key to get those guys involved in the start so that they didn't think that they were forgotten about. But also, anybody who's ever worked in retail, competition is everything. So if one area had lots of posts going on, then the other areas responded by posting twice as many. We also used a countdown clock. So in our stores, our intranet is called Toy Talk. And we made sure that that was counting down every day into the launch of the Entertrainer. We also had a launch competition. Wellbeing is a continual focus for us in retail. How do we manage that work-life balance? So it made sense to tie that into the launch. Learning Pool, who's our LMS provider, had already written a brilliant healthy lifestyles course. So we just put our logo on it, pretend we wrote it ourselves. And you could earn your first digital badge by completing the course. It also then put your name into a hat to win a Fitbit, and you got your first digital badge. We didn't realise how incentivising digital badges would be. You also got a certificate, and I did have a phone call from our head of ops wondering why the paper usage in shops was increasing 20-fold as people were printing off their certificates. So what did the launch look like? In retail, again, we sent, each store had a goodie box that they couldn't open until the 22nd of August. In there, each member of staff had a postcard that had all the details about how to log on to the Entertrainer. We also sent them branded slinkies because why not? And also put sweets in there as well and details of the competition. And pretty much instantly, we started to get photos on of people wearing slinkies. I didn't know that was a thing. Pictures of people getting their badges and using the tablets in store to show us their certificates. At the office, if anybody's watched the film Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, he says, build it and they will come. In our office, it's provide cake, they will move away from their desks. So we had branded cakes and water, and we got them down to our classroom and said, come and take a look, come and have something free, and we will walk you through how to log on, what the competition looks like. And again, we were really overwhelmed. We also put balloons everywhere. It was about a £1.20 a head spend in terms of a campaign launch. So we spent about £2,500 across the company to launch our campaign. So it really was done on a shoestring budget. And then again, not forgetting the guys in the field, those guys also got a goodie box, but theirs included a thermos. That's something they're quite particular about, their coffee, making sure that they get from place to place. And again, we even had our Chief Operations Officer post his first certificate online, which was really encouraging. So what has it all meant and where are we? We're 18 months on and the guys have completed 118,000 courses. Within that, we've only had three mandatory courses, one naturally health and safety, GDPR, and also in the light of the Me Too campaign, we also rolled out very quickly a Dignity at Work course, but the rest of it has been courses that people have chosen to go online and do themselves. We've also ensured that we've had fun stuff on there. So there's a course about how to take the perfect selfie, what to do if you get trapped in the woods by a bear. We also have one on there that if you miss the bus to the conference, what should you do? So we made sure that there's a reason to go on and have a bit of fun, and then while you're there, what else can you learn? We were really excited that our provider gave us an award for our launch, which has kind of fueled the beast to get more awards, and we won a couple more with them with the site last year as well. And again, just coming back to Florence's point about engagement being key and knowing your audience. And so what did we do next? So we've had one campaign and we thought, well, that's worked really well. We also use the Enter Trainer to support Autism Week, making sure that our teams are fully aware of what it means and how to help our customers. So we have the quiet hour in our store now on Saturday and every day during school holidays. We use it to support Mental Health Awareness Month. Last year was the first year that we did something for Learning at Work Week, which we'll be repeating again this year. And today, we're not celebrating Valentine's at the Entertainer, we're celebrating Love Your Modules, which has gone, we're nothing if not cheesy, which has gone live today. So everybody are earning their Love Heart badges and learning how they can get on with their modules. So once we realised that the campaign works, which is essentially just communicating with people, involving them and letting them know what's going on, we've started to use it more and more and just having conversations with these guys about how we can use it more. We've got an office move coming up, and again, people are feeling like it's been done to them and not for them or with them. So we're going to start using these strategies moving forward. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you, Pete. That was awesome.
Pleasure.
So, well, I hope you've got a really good view there of what campaign-based learning is. We've got the 3 steps, and you've got the principles that help you put that into practice. You've had a chance to try that out yourselves on your own projects, and you've also seen 3 brilliant examples of that in practice. And we've got a bit of time. If there's any questions anyone would like to ask or reflections, we've got time for that. There's a gentleman there.
I'm terrible with the microphone, so apologies if it's too loud. Was just really interested, so they're all fantastic stories and loved each of them, so it was really cool to hear. Was just interested if there was anything that you each kind of learned from the experience that you would do differently next time. Yeah.
I think one of the things that we certainly learned was to, although we were quite quick off the bat in involving the end users, certainly the other departments in the business, making sure that they were as engaged and as on board with it. And I think we would have possibly done a bit more with the office. They were certainly very involved once it launched, but they were a bit slower on the uptake. And I think we could have done a bit more face-to-face stuff with those guys just to help them get on board a bit quicker.
I think probably for us, it's getting the engagement from the senior management to help us get the rest of the business through the training. Because although they had seen it and they were very kind of on board with it, when we launched it, it took us a lot of time to get to that 90%. You know, that didn't happen kind of overnight. So we were kind of constantly prodding them to help us get the rest of the business through that. So I think if we'd kind of primed them up a little bit more at the beginning and got them kind of more aware of it, that would have probably helped us get our figures up quicker.
It's hard to say. On that specific campaign I show you, we could have played even more with the notion of curiosity, because we actually published the chapter of the story, each chapter on the same day of the week. It's like every Wednesday, so we could actually have even made more played with that. What we learned is definitely the 5 chapters were too long, and we have a curve in the reading like that, but everybody always come back for the last chapter, so that's a good one. So we're actually working on the next one, where this time we're going to have 3 chapters, and we're going to do things slightly different. What also we learned was interesting is our story was too finished too well. People like stories that do not finish always well. So that's going to be also a learning point for us. I could have shown you at the end. We did a small video for to thank everybody participating, because this was rolled out across more than 120 different sites and 36 countries. So we had actually a lot of people helping us. And what I've learned is earlier I invite them to participate into the stories and the building of the story, obviously the stronger I am to have them promoting the material once we release it. So that is very interesting because I'm implementing kind of a mechanism to get people really creating the story with us as we go along, that they can then release quickly, which is cool.
Wonderful, thank you. Any more questions or observations? No? Well, to those of you who are heading straight off and travelling, safe travels. I believe there's free drinks after this, out where there were free drinks yesterday, I think. I'm assuming they are. They bloody better be. So one final round of applause, not just for our speakers, but for yourselves as well. So thanks, you've been a great group. That was awesome.